Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first Film Team 6 commentary. I am Dylan Lacson, the writer and director of this film that we are about to watch.
And I'm Mac Lacson, the star and editor and music coordinator of this very film that we are watching.
Okay, and today we are watching The House of Forgotten Souls, or La Casa del
Della,
Anime,
della anime dimenticate.
according to Google Translate. That's accurate. So, so right off the bat, this is obviously our tribute, our sort of love letter to the Italian giallo subgenre. And I guess we should talk about why we made this movie. So this movie, despite me being credited as the writer director, was not my idea at all. It was actually this guy right here. So Mac, what do you say that's accurate? Would you say that you basically conceived of how do we explain it? You basically said, "I want to make a giallo, write it for me," and then I kind of wrote it, and then
Yeah, it was supposed to be a short scene, just like purely a murder scene at first, but of course, Mickey D's being Mickey D's decided to go ahead and convolute it and overstretch into a 30-minute
I guess we
featurette
should explain Mickey D's is sort of my stage name. It's my kind of pseudonym
alias.
for films.
Our version of Alan Smithley, basically.
Yeah, basically, you see that through a lot for films. I'm Mickey D's exposed. Mickey D's. This is me. Mickey D's and Dylan Lacson are the same person. Um, okay, so this opening scene, you'll see this kind of a common thing throughout our movies. Of course, we cannot have a real old man in set.
Yeah. In case you can tell, we only have like 5 actors, all within our age range.
Yep, within our age range.
And all male.
Yes, all male. So every time we need like a woman or an old person or whatever, one of us has to play the part ourselves because
Typically this guy right
especially me. I am like our number one character actor, especially in these environments because we filmed this whole movie was filmed in our friend's grandparents' place. So obviously it would have been out of place if we had to ask their grandparents to to act in our movie, let alone because the bedroom we were just using where a lot of the movie takes place, and it's this old rundown guest decrepit guest bedroom that had not been used in well over a decade. So the AC isn't working, the running water is faulty, and this was shot during the Philippine summer, so it could have well been over like 90 degrees in there alone. So
and humid as hell.
And humid because this is in the Philippines. We shot all as with most of our films. We shot all of it in the Philippines during summer, so incredibly hot and humid throughout. You'll see every single drop of sweat you see in this movie is 100% real. None of it was faked. If anything, we were constantly like wiping ourselves, so we were even sweatier like when the camera wasn't rolling.
And there's clearly
and
stuntman.
Again, me being the stuntman for almost everybody. Yeah, I just kind of like just throw myself literally into every role we do. Okay, so so back to the kind of conception of this movie. So we both been huge fans of
Giallo.
of giallos. Is that really how they say it?
I don't know.
Of giallos. Pretty much during the pandemic, that kind of when we discovered our affinity for them. Oh, bottom left. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but at the bottom left, you see me jumping out of the patio in an attempt to get out of the camera's view.
But it's actually good foreshadowing if you see.
Yes, it is foreshadowing because technically my character, the nurse that I play later on, does end up being, was the one who kind of staged this whole scene.
This people's
and yes, we did notice it, and we could have removed it, but we decided to keep it in just because it's funny. So.
Yeah, I actually could have
yes,
moved it.
We did notice it because it was funny, and also I don't know, it just seemed right for a movie like this to have like a funny, revealing error like that.
Okay, back to conception.
So I'll be listening to the incredible score by who composed this again? Bruno, was it Bruno?
Bruno Nicolai.
Bruno Nicolai.
I chose all the music
from
for this.
The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. Yes, Mac was the kind of the music supervisor of this movie. Because him, even more so than I, is especially an especially big fan of Giallos. Like he's seen even more than I have. And basically, I don't know what draws you to Giallo, because to me, to Giallo and pretty much any like Italian movie of the 60s and 70s, it's they very much have kind of like an everything goes sort of approach to filmmaking, where like literally every camera technique, every editing technique, every genre of music you can use would not feel out of place in it because I mean, literally anything: crash zooms, wipes, split screens, you know, all kinds of editing tricks. The music score too can range from symphonic strings,
To funk.
disco, funk, heavy metal, literally anything would seem in place because they had just that gonzo, you know, maximalist approach. So it's a lot of fun. It's a very fun exercise as filmmakers to make a Jalo because like yeah, you can literally do anything and it would not feel out of place. So I mean, what draws you to Jaws? Because you're kind of a Jalo expert.
They're entertaining.
Yeah, so they're entertaining. They're entertaining. They're sleazy. Um,
They're gory.
gory, boobs.
Nothing.
None of that here though. Anyways.
That made from Bob.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, right now I think we kind of see our first problem with the film. Is that Mac and I, we look and sound way too similar. So that's why in all of our projects, it's like we kind of have to be playing brothers because we look too much alike to not be playing brothers. Which actually kind of one thing I kind of regret in this movie is that like in hindsight I do wish I added that twist because obviously later we find out that my character is the murderer and is posing as the the red ghost, um, as he feels that he should be the worthy heir of the mansion. I do kind of wish that we added like the sort of like secret twist that he's like the long lost half brother of Mac's character here because one, it would explain why we look and sound so similar.
That's
And
all.
I mean, well,
Just add more convolution to the story.
I mean, it would be convoluted, but it also gives him more motive. And I mean, it's melodramatic, it's far fetched, but that also, again, anything goes. That fits perfectly in place. In Italian horror logic. So, well, I guess we should get to some of the technical aspects of this. So, this was shot with a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. Did I say that right?
Yeah, pockets in the camera. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, what kind of lenses did we use? Shot anamorphic.
No, it was not.
It's shot not anamorphic. What lenses did we use for this thing?
I mean, we used a 12 millimeter and a 20 to 70 millimeter zoom.
Mm-hmm.
They were modern. Actually, after we shot this movie, I decided to go ahead and purchase some vintage lens for myself, which I think would have really benefited this shoot.
You purchased what now?
Some vintage lenses that I think would have greatly benefited this shoot.
But did we not have any vintage lenses at all back then, or just none? That we did. We did have that one.
We didn't. No, we had like two that we used in creep over, but I don't know. They're just kind of a hassle to adapt for, so that's why I kind of ditched them for this.
Do you have adapters for them now?
No, I've always had adapters, but there's just like it's this whole process. But anyways, I think even with a modern lens, it still looks fine. Well, with a zoom, it like looks close enough, but whenever we switch to the wide, it kind of gives it a more modern look. I don't know, something about the coatings there. Which, by the way, that wide lens we use still has a knife mark, and still has a knife mark from this.
Yeah. There's that the shot later when the Red Queen attempts to stab my brother. There's kind of like a POV shot from him, like looking up at her as she stabs at him as ghost as he stabs towards my brother's POV, and one of the takes, the knife, real chef's knife, bounces right off the camera lens. How much was that lens?
$400,
Yeah.
$300.
So yeah, there it goes. I mean, we still use it, but
Yeah, and it later gained a blood stain from high impact. That's still there. I keep forgetting to clean it off, but I don't use that lens anymore.
So this room over here is the bane of our existence because on one hand, it's like the only room that's like completely empty and like unused that we could use and basically do anything to. But on the other hand, like I said earlier, rundown, no AC.
So
we are just sweating our asses off the whole way through. Also, a pretty bad room for lighting visually because it's just this ugly beige, and white. Everything is uniformly beige. Yeah. It just looks really ugly.
Combined with the yellow lighting, I actually did propose to use our actual studio lights, which are used a lot throughout the movie, but he just wanted the yellow lights for some reason.
Shout out to you, Don't Torture Duckling fans. The song over here, it's crazy. Famously used in that scene when this woman's kind of being whipped to death with a bunch of chains. This whole movie is just full of just random Giallo references sprinkled throughout. I think the most obvious being the Red Queen killed 7 times.
Yeah, Miller just stole her design.
Yeah, the design just straight up ripped it up. Oh, another Fulci reference over here. The Beyond theme by Fabio Frizzi. Uh, I think every time we spot a reference, we should probably point it out. So we already mentioned the main theme being from Red Queen Kills Sometimes. So very solid movie. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite Jalos, but it's a pretty solid one from who directed that one? Was it Sergio or which one was
Which
Red
one?
Queen? Red Queen.
Oh, Emilio Miraglia.
Has he done any others? Or
Night Owl and Came Out the Grave.
okay, and that song will also be prominently
Nah,
used. It'll be used later, won't it? Night Evelyn came out.
no, I never used that here.
My bad. Okay. So what else? I wouldn't say there was like any like I mean obviously Red Queen is the most noticeable, but that's more in terms of just the villain design and the main theme of the movie. The base story I wouldn't say is specifically copied off of any. It's sort of just like okay, like with the very limited cast and like the one location we have and the 5 people we have, like how can we possibly make a Jello? And I mean, on one hand, it's kind of hard to make a genuinely compelling whodunit with like actually only 4 people because it's you, me, Jamie,
Yeah.
and Bob. I mean, I play like 3 characters in it, but um, it's pretty hard to make a compelling whodunit when you have this few cast
I mean,
members.
yeah, that's why the twist doesn't really feel very impactful.
I mean, the
feel.
twist is not impactful, but at the same time, that is kind of par for the course with
Yeah.
most
Yeah,
Jawas.
Jaws.
Usually, the twists either are super obvious or they're just, oh, it's that guy. You know, it's very rare that you see one that actually feels genuinely earned. Your long zooms.
Yeah.
Your long zooms very essential for any
70s.
just yeah
60s, 70s.
60s 70s tribute movie. I think these outdoor shots over here that we just saw are sort of like visually the highlight of the film. Why is that? Why do you think the outdoor scenes look so much more? Did we just get lucky that it was a cloudy day that day, so there's like a beautiful contrast between the gray skies and the green grass? Or
I don't know. It
what?
doesn't really. How do I say this?
What doesn't stand out for you
Yeah,
visually?
as much.
Look at your colorblind.
Yeah, that's what.
Yes.
Simple.
Yeah, we made sure to use up every single square inch of this house.
Well, there's still a lot that isn't used.
Like what? We showed almost every square inch of
Like
it.
the
I
dining
mean,
room and the dining room, the long table and such.
well, every place that could possibly be
Yes.
like a unique set piece. So we got this creepy attic over here, and that wasn't enough for us. Of course, we had to find our way into the
Inside of the roof.
inner framings of the roof, which ideally, in our carte blanche version of this, would have been a much more elaborate chase scene.
Yeah, but we were scared that we'd break the floorboards below, and
I want to be the floorboards, it'd be the ceiling.
Ceiling. Well, floorboards of this room, ceiling of the others.
Not to mention, once again, that is real sweat, and that is like the light version of it, because of course we have to wipe ourselves down between every take.
And Mickey D's over here was actually filming shirtless.
I wasn't shirtless. I was in my underwear. Specifically, whenever we were shooting like inside of the roof, because again, there's like no insulation. There's never been AC in there, and it was like peak heat in the Philippines and ungodly humid. So yes, for these shots, anytime we're in there, I'm just like in my underwear, like holding the camera. What am I reading over there?
I'm not sure.
What am I even reading here?
Was it the FNAF book, maybe?
FNAF? Was it FNAF?
I don't know.
Another benefit of making a Jalo is that you can get away with just really shitty dubbing and ADR.
But one thing that he says about this is that this dubbing's too good for Italian.
I think we tried a little bit too hard to match our our voices with our lips, because obviously anyone who knows anything about older Italian movies is that they didn't even try. They didn't even try. But yes, on one hand, you don't have to be super precise with the accuracy of the dubbing. And also the vocal performances don't need to be especially good. I mean, I don't think we're like awful here, but obviously we're not like at our peak. We're not at our A game over here. We're kind of just it almost feels phoned in, literally. It would have been funny. Another thing that's funny about these Italian movies is when they have these actors sort of do these fake like European. Look, I've had it. I can't take it anymore. Which I think would have been funny if we just kept that up throughout. But the only person in this movie who has a vague European accent would be the grandfather at the very beginning, who was voiced by me.
And that's the only time we try.
That's the only time we try. Your grandfather has like a vaguely Italian accent for some reason. Everyone else just sounds normal. This movie could almost function well as a period piece, with a couple of exceptions.
Yeah.
We see at least one modern vehicle early
And a
on.
camera battery.
And a camera. We'll point out the
Which,
camera battery
we'll
later.
point that out later.
Okay, this is one of my favorite shots over here.
Yeah, and yeah, this is actually supposed to be just a test shot, but we liked the result so much we just decided to keep it in.
Yeah.
Just meant to be dimmer and bluer, but
the way it reveals, though, genuinely creepy. Just seeing that featureless, like kind of like blank white face, slowly charging, and then you see the cape flowing. So it's disturbing, but oddly beautiful.
Well, by the way, we also read that from Red Queen.
That is directly ripped off
Direct.
Red Queen. Unfortunately, the closer it gets, you see that the mask itself is not especially scary. And then here we go, full Bava Suspiria mode, the greens and reds. Contrary to popular belief, they didn't like. It's not as common as you'd think to have like this kind of garish neon lighting throughout giallos.
I mean, and Suspiria isn't a giallo technically.
And Suspiria is not technically okay, but Italian horror in general. I mean, the only ones I could think of are maybe a handful of Bavas and Suspiria.
Because Inferno.
Oh, and Inferno. I guess the Mother of Tears. I guess whenever you go more into the fantasy, I guess Suspiria and Inferno are more dark fantasy horror movies than the Giallos. I'm trying to think, like, what else, like, what would we have done differently in this movie? I mean, I already mentioned something before about wishing that I was your long lost brother.
Well, as the DP of this movie, I wish we did not stick with the yellow lights in that room because they are fucking ugly.
I think this scene it kind of works. I think.
No. Well, sure, the red, but that's from the AC at the back, not from any of the yellow lighting. I feel like with
Boom, slow-mo. Yeah, we go sort of like Peck and Paw, random Peck and Paw tribute over here. Another thing I do like about this room, though, is how haggard it is. That kind of like torn curtain in the background, I think, adds a lot of character. That old CRTV up front.
CRT TV. Cathode ray tube.
I think kind of... it gave us what I think is one of the best shots of the movie over here. I think, in general, the way this scene is, despite the naturally ugly lighting and coloring of the room, I think the way this whole scene is shot and blocked, I think it's one of the better sequences in the movie. Yeah, kind of like that red light over there that kind of grows as it grows, the growing bouquet of red in the background.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't change if we decide to go
I know.
actual.
But still, I mean it's a pretty well done sequence in general. Boom. Oh my god. Okay, all right. I think the Foley in this movie, even by Italian horror movie standards, leaves a lot to be desired.
My supervisor didn't tell me about that.
Well, yes, this man over here was the one who provided. It's just, the breathing and the footsteps, I think, is something we've struggled with throughout all.
Courtesy of our camera up.
Yep, a camera battery, oops, whatever. That's pretty embarrassing. Oh, this is one of our great reveal over here. We got some continuity errors with the way he's stabbing your hand. It kind of changes between shots. And man, do I wish we had like the kind of smear of blood on the wall as you bump into it.
Yeah, but it's not ours.
It's not our house. You can't just. Well, I guess we could have just keyed in. It's a trail of blood over there. And here's the shot that dented our camera.
Yep,
boom. And if you notice the part where he rolls out of the way before the knife stabs him, there's like a couple of frames cut to kind of to kind of like speed up the effect. Here we have random green lighting, which again, one, everything goes, and two, it kind of gives this movie sort of like nightmare fever
Logic.
dream. This kind of like nightmare fever dream feel that I think is every time where's this music from?
Fifth chord.
Fifth Chord. Ennio Morricone, right?
Yeah.
I just love the set piece over here. I think this is easily one of the best locations we've used in any of our movies because it's just so visually distinct from anything we've done. And I do wish we did maximize it. I do wish we had like a more elaborate kind of chase sequence throughout. Here's our first giveaway that it's my character.
Only one person wears those shoes.
That's the ghost. Yes. But yeah, this is just an incredible location, and I do hope we get to use it in a better project in the future. I mean, just look at that. That's just
Well, when are we going to be shooting
incredibly
this place
cinematic.
again?
I have no idea. You just gotta bear through the heat.
Well, word of advice: bring a fan next time.
What's that? And obviously, geographically speaking, I mean, it's from where he's looking at. Like, there's no way he would get like that view of the door from like up where he is. Like, as you can see, the camera zooms in. It doesn't even show like an actual crack in the ceiling that would enable him to see through. But I mean, regardless, I think the way it's shot, I think like we get a as an audience, we get a pretty good idea like geographically and like where everybody's placed. So I think it accomplishes its job, even if it is physically, spatially impossible for him to be seeing them right now. Those are Barbie and Ken themed donuts, but with this being a period piece, we told him. Actually, I think in the actual scene he says like, "We got some Barbie donuts for you, bitch," and then we just like when he went ADR and we just told him not to say that.
I mean, you can still faintly hear it.
Going to kill you. Here we got probably the best murder sequence in any of our movies. Kaboom! That effect, I think it's one shot away from being great, but that finger effect was pretty bomb.
Which, by the way, was done with sausages.
With sausages, yep, we we just stabbed a bunch of Vienna sausages.
No, they were regular hot dogs.
Okay, we got a bunch of hot dogs, stabbed them on a fork, put them near the camera, out of focus, and cut them with garden shears.
I was pretty saddened because I want to eat those.
I suppose. Oh yes. That was an homage to the 1981 slasher movie Burning. It was a very similar The Burning. Yeah, very similar death scene. It's the scene where the killer attacks a group of kids on a raft, and one of them over there he slices all, like the fingers of both of his hands off, which
we
I
didn't
kind
have
of wish we
hot
did.
dogs.
We didn't have enough hot dogs, yeah. But yeah, pretty great sequence up until that final effect of him stabbing him through the glasses. I do wish we kind of made a better effect for that, but we were kind of in a rush then. Okay, and this is another thing that we kind of debated on a lot. The fate of Mac's character here. So up until he gets stabbed, we are pretty much on the same page. Personally, I kind of intended for him to survive. Like right before our villain kind of delivers the finishing blow, he gets interrupted by the phone call, gets distracted, and Mac like presumably survives, or at least it's left kind of ambiguous. But Mac here was very adamant about about making it unambiguous. No, I'm dead for sure. Oh, here we got our Scooby-Doo mask reveal.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo.
Straight out of a Scream movie. But why did you want to die so bad?
It's fun.
It's just fun.
I wish it happened IRL.
Oh, also that soundtrack you just heard was a Goblin soundtrack from Tenebrae. What's the name of the soundtrack?
Flashing.
Yeah, just a fun, has this kind of like inappropriately kind of like fun like disco boogie feel that was kind of like common in Jaws back then. And I think in my opinion that actually kind of adds to the scene. It kind of gives like this more mean-spirited almost like mocking, like we're kind of having fun while like slaughtering these characters over here.
Something I'd like to do more in my future films.
It kind of adds to the meanness of this is a great shot over here, and I think it kind of breaks continuity because it was not that dark, and the lights are clearly on here. No, split diopters. Another. I don't know if it's specifically a Jalo thing. I think this movie is also largely influenced by Brian De Palma.
Yeah, because I'm partial DP, so.
Yeah, I mean, he basically made like Americanized version of the Italian whodunits. Another flaw I think is every time we hear a supernatural voice on the phone, be it here or in the very opening scene, I think they're a little bit too soft.
Well, you said they were fine when we were editing.
Yeah, when you're listening to this movie on like noise canceling earphones, it sounds fine, but on like a regular TV, you just don't quite hear them. I wish we actually did like have someone say something in them. Oh well. It was a lot of fun wearing this costume, walking around like like the Phantom of the Opera or Dracula or something. This ending sequence, I remember it took a while, deliberating on how exactly the villain was going to die.
Yeah, because we barely had a script.
It's
for the ending.
We had a couple of full conversations that were written down, and then the rest of the story was kind of just like we had like bullet points. We had bullet points where we kind of like roughly. I mean, since we knew the house, we kind of knew okay, well, like logically speaking, we kind of choreographed it based on like the location, but none of it was scripted or storyboarded. The effect itself is not great. I mean, in terms of being a budget giallo, I guess it's like not the worst. I mean, it is partially paying homage to like Fulci's wooden dummies from like The Psychic or Duckling or whatnot. And we have this incredible final shot that I mean, this could have been our final movie, and I would have been okay with that, with this being the very last shot. And our original intention was to just have a freeze frame over here while the credits rolled. I guess kind of like Pearl, how that was supposed to be a freeze frame and her smiling, and Ty West just said to keep rolling, just keep smiling at the camera until you're crying. We kind of like the same over here.
That was my decision to keep it rolling.
Equally compelling performance from this lifeless dummy over here. Yeah, the effect leaves a lot to be desired, but I think it still kind of has that same visceral like effect in the final shot here. So that was House of Forgotten Souls, our love letter tribute to the Fulcis and the Argentos and the Martinos, just Italian horror cinema as a whole, and Brian De Palma. I'm pretty satisfied with how it turned out. I think this is about as good. Keep in mind, this was all shot within like 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Yeah. This was shot in 3 weeks, edited in 4. So given that time crunch, I think we did a pretty satisfactory job, and it's currently our most viewed video at 1,300 views. Take that, Mr. Beast. So here we got all of our Google translated Google translated Italian.
I got it from other Italian movies.
Technoscope. What's Technoscope?
A whole technical process.
All right, well,
we still have like a minute to go.
Yeah.
There, 20 seconds.
All right, well, thanks everybody for listening. This is a lot of fun. We'll definitely do this for the rest of our filmography. I'm Dylan Lacson, writer and director.
I'm Mac Lacson, star actor and editor of this very movie that you have watched.
And we hope you enjoyed listening to this commentary with us. Take care.